So the moment I'm in right now is a real phase of bringing my soul's gifts into the world in a more complete and whole way than I've done before.
Welcome to the Soulful Impact Podcast, illuminating a path to building a better world while living a life of fulfillment and freedom. I'm your host, Brooks Barron. Today, my guest is Kelly Wilde Miller.
I was about to say, I finally found myself. How many people are like, I want to find myself. Where am I? And it's what a weird sentence. I said it forever. And everyone's like, you're right there.
I met Kelly in May of 2021 when she was a participant on a vision quest with Animas Valley Institute, and I was an apprentice guide supporting that quest. We connected deeply through that experience, and it's been amazing to continue to witness and support her in her soul journey since. The timing of this interview was perfect because as we were recording, Kelly was celebrating a really major milestone of manifesting her soul's gifts in a more meaningful way than ever before.
I wasn't fully embodied. I wasn't fully clicked into myself. There was a lot of layers of conditioning and whatnot. And this is a spicy take, but the next chapter that's alive for me is stepping into motherhood. And there is such a common phrase amongst mothers of, once you have kids, you lose yourself. And the thing I'm sitting with is, I don't think I could lose myself again.
We discuss Prismara, the entity taking shape as the embodiment of Kelly's soul's gifts, and how the seeds were planted for that emergence many years ago. We explore how our creativity is the most genuine expression of the deeper truth of who we really are, and how the blocks that get in our way creatively are actually the path. We discuss what it really means to deeply find ourselves and find our place, and the ramifications in our life once we have. And we talk about this wild and crazy global moment that we are living through, including how getting into alignment with soul can help us transform the meta crisis into the great remembering and blossoming that our souls know is possible. Before we begin the episode, a brief reminder that if this conversation resonates with you, I'd love to invite you to explore more of our work at Soulful Impact. We are committed to supporting you in finding and living your soulful impact in any way we can, including this freely available podcast, and also through one-on-one coaching, coaches training, our regular sound alchemy ceremonies in the majestic Colorado Rockies, and our annual Deep Dive Vision Quest program in the soul-stirring desert of Southern Arizona. Learn more and get in touch at soulfulimpact.co. That's soulfulimpact.co. Kelly, welcome to the Soulful Impact Podcast.
Thank you, Brooks. It is so good to be here.
It's so great to have you here. I've been really looking forward to this, and I'm just so excited for all that we're going to cover today. And never could have imagined, I think, being here with you when we first met several years ago. And it's a beautiful moment for me. So we'll come back to that. But I actually want to begin by inviting you to tell us a little bit about the moment that you're in right now, because I think it's a really special moment and I want people to hear about it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Actually, as you started saying that, I just felt like energy and electricity move through my body and even a little bit of emotion. So, you invited me to speak from soul, and my body is telling me that that is happening, which is vulnerable. Yeah.
Thank you for your vulnerability. Yeah, it's a real gift.
Yeah. So the moment I'm in right now is a real phase of bringing my soul's gifts into the world in a more complete and whole way than I've done before. Um, and it's a
Woo.
real moment of expansion,
Yeah.
but it's grounded expansion.
Mm.
I feel deeply here, deeply in my body, and deeply in my, Kelly-ness, like the true expression that I have been born to express.
Yes. Congratulations on just saying all that you just said
Mm,
and having that experience.
mhm.
What a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
appreciate the way that you are walking in this path with me too, walking
Mhm.
alongside me as we can get into.
Mhm. Yeah, wouldn't have it any other way. So, for those in the audience who don't already know you, share a little bit more on the level of content of what this is looking like, what this means, what's the practical form, at
Mhm.
least at this stage, that this manifestation of your soul's gifts is taking.
Yeah, beautiful. So, essentially, it's an extension of my own path of, individuating and cultivating the confidence to bring my own creative gifts into the world. For me, that has come through, writing books, but more importantly, actually building a soul-aligned business. To
Mm,
me, that is an expression of my creativity, and the ways in which I'm holding space for other people, the container that I've created is a 6-month embodied creative mastermind for people to bring their soul's gifts into the world. And I lead with this idea of authentic creativity, where it's authentic, meaning that it stems from a deep place within us. Some call it soul, which you and I do. Other people might call it heart or essence or just from the deep mystery of inside themselves. And they channel that creativity through themselves and express it out into the world. And it's taking the form of books for some folks, birthing new modalities, creating new businesses. And most importantly, it's learning how to create from a place of authenticity, regulation, having our nervous system stay regulated, and leaning into greater degrees of visibility, monetization, and impact.
mhm.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. And I'm over here being like, yeah, I could use that. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. Giving me the honor of inviting me to join as a mentor, which is yeah, a true honor. And also I'm uh not so secretly also just really excited to get to learn from
Mm.
the experience that you're holding and
Yeah.
from your leadership.
Yeah, and you're a mentor because you embody this path so beautifully with
Mm,
soulful impact and the previous iterations of your service
mhm.
and expression. And, like,
Thank you.
I need a container like this too. We all on this path need containers like this. We need to be held. And some of us have piecemealed that support together through, a hodgepodge of mentors and really just a lot of time of trial and error and weaving it together
Mhm.
ourselves. And I wish I had a container like this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And definitely after my vision quest,
Mhm.
where you were the
Mhm.
apprentice guide after, really when you start stepping in more into that enactment phase of sharing your gifts and the insights after you ask the deeper questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Such tricky territory.
create a container where other people can ask those questions. Who am I really? What do I really want to create? And how do I, without falling into traps of hustle, burnout, inauthenticity? And man, it's nuanced,
Mhm.
especially because a lot of us
Mhm.
are leveraging the internet and content and social media. And how do we do that from a soul aligned place has been a really big question for me.
Ah,
And I know for you too. We've talked about this
totally.
behind the
Yeah.
scenes a lot.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, it's these questions that you're speaking to here are just, I think, so alive, so relevant, so timely. So I'm really excited um for you, and I'm really excited for all the people in your container that's
Yeah,
coming
thank you.
up.
Yeah, thank you so much.
How did you know that, or how, as you so you're kind of recently coming to the end of this launch phase, The container is about to start, I think, next week. So by the time this episode is released, it'll be live and we'll be mid-flight. And I'm wondering, how did you know that people were meant for this? Like when you were speaking to folks who are interested or kind of
Hmm.
sorting through that process of attracting aligned people, was there like a moment you can kind of put into words
Hmm.
that's like, "Ah, yeah, you're part of this. You're part of this tribe?"
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to go back even further than that. And it's the real essence of this container is being so unquestionably and radically aligned with yourself and
Mm,
your own authentic ways of being. And for me, this was already a success purely by putting it out into the world because I said yes to it,
hmm,
which is really just my relationship with my own muse, my own soul, my own sense of knowing what the world would benefit from, regardless of whether other people agreed and signed up.
beautiful.
And
You
so
just knew it was that aligned for you.
yeah, I mean, as I was creating it, when the name is Prismara, which is a blend of prism and Mara. And prism, I actually have one right here, is the multifaceted
Beautiful.
expression of our brilliance. We have all these different sides, and we are made up of multitudes. And as we integrate all of who we are, we radiate a spectrum of beautiful light out into the world.
Mhm,
You know, we
mhm.
become these beacons of light, and it comes through a particular radiance that only we have through our unique individuated constitution. And then Mara has a lot of meanings, but in Buddhism, it represents basically our stuff, our karma, darkness. It also has an ode to cycles, death, rebirth. And so in order to for those watching on video, the prism, in order to be fully in our integrated brilliance, we have to go into the shadows. We have to go into the darker places. We have to go feel through what is uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And when I'll be honest, ChatGPT helped me name this business. I was just like, let's
Thank you, AI.
brainstorm all these different ideas. And
Yeah.
it came up with Prismara. And I was like, what is that? And I started weeping.
Mhm.
The one and only time I've cried using my AI. And I know I know now that when there's emotion, when there's such a deep resonance and emotion comes, that there's something really important to pay attention to.
Mhm.
And so then the name came, the essence came, then the shape and the form started to come, and and then who is it for started to come, and really who it's for is me 5 years ago. And who are those people today? And there's an archetype there.
Mhm.
And I just built the website and all the material to speak to that archetype. And I didn't know. Of course, you don't know what's going to happen. And the first wave of response was purely just the people in my life, including you, including the other mentors, including just lots of friends saying, "This is so you, Kelly."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've waited and worked so hard to find my work, to create my work that is truly a direct expression of me, and I couldn't settle until I had that.
Hmm. Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
work has been my awakening path in many ways, and no
Yeah.
longer being able to be inauthentic in my work. So to have that validation, even though I didn't need it because I already knew, was beautiful. It was really nourishing to receive that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then as people applied and signed up, I mean, I had a list of folks that I was like, these are the humans that I know could really benefit from this container. Some of them are in it, some of them, aren't.
Mhm.
And then the mystery brought a whole bunch of other people that are brand new to my life who the feedback is you're speaking directly to my soul. Like
Woof.
like the landing page and my writing, people who are meant to resonate with it, it's kind of either like you either do or you don't. And those that do, bam, like
Hmm.
they're just meant for this container. And some of them, it's not the right time too, you know? So
Right.
I've been working on really loving people's no.
Nice.
No, not right now. And it's like the old me would have taken that really personally
Right.
and maybe even said like, "Oh, I'm doing something wrong," or change the container to like fit what it is that they need and
Yeah.
get a little apologetic and wobbly.
I've done so much of that.
Yeah. Right. And so like the whole philosophy in the container is this idea of project-based transformation, project-based healing. The project becomes an arena to grow, heal, and awaken through. And so when someone says no, which is guaranteed to happen, what gets brought up in me? My insecurity, my self doubt, the pains of rejection. I'm not good enough. I just want people to like me.
Hmm.
And I think it was maybe 2, 3 weeks into the launch period where I identified the young part in me who just wanted to be liked. And she was handing out scholarships a lot to
Yeah.
a lot of the first wave of people who signed up. Many of them got a very healthy scholarship,
Mm.
which is not a problem. I've built
Mhm.
in a financial model that accommodates that. But I was getting a little bit like, "Oh, shoot, if everybody got this degree of scholarship, I really I don't know if I would feel, like the right reciprocity has come in."
Yeah, what about my needs?
Yeah, and so instead of
Yeah.
being like, "Well, all those people and their needs," it was like, "What part in me is so eager to get someone to sign up that I'll just heavily discount it right away?" And I
Mhm.
met a part in me, and she felt like she was 14, and she's just standing in the corner with her hands out like, "I really want you to like me. Like, have my
Aw.
lunch, have my snacks, have have the program for free. Like, just like me." And it was like, "Oh, sweetheart,
Mhm.
yeah." And so
Mhm.
then I integrate
Hmm.
that part in me,
Mhm.
and I haven't given out a full scholarship since. No one has
Hmm.
asked for it since.
Hmm. Wow.
So the mantra is work the mirror. And this launch is a mirror, the program's a mirror for myself and for everyone else.
It's just
And
having that thought. Life as a
yeah,
mirror for what we're creating inside. Never ceases to amaze.
it's so easy to forget, and then you remember and you're like, "Oh my gosh, right. Yeah, my whole life is a mirror." And that can get a little overwhelming to think about. So break it down, like, your next creative project is a mirror, and
Nice.
where you hit your resistance, your fear, your doubt, your wobble is just reflecting back what parts inside of you are ready to be integrated, the Mara, so that your prism can radiate more brightly.
Love it.
Yeah.
Ah, so beautiful, my friend.
Mm.
Wow. And I'm just so appreciating, well, two things that I'm really appreciating about you right now. One is the presence that's here, your presence,
Mm.
the groundedness and strength and clarity. Like you referred earlier to the wobble, you know, and we've been good friends for a while. We've shared some deep containers together. I've had the opportunity to guide you in some deep containers.
You've seen me wobble.
I've seen the wobble.
Hard wobble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Total wobble.
And I'm just loving the wobble, loving all of that wobbling that you have done and that you and I both continue to do, will continue to do, surely. Loving all of that and appreciating the way that you right now, I'm appreciating the way that you have embraced all that wobble, leaned into it, turned towards it, allowed it to lead you and guide you into those shadowy places, said yes to your Mara,
Mm.
and through that become the powerful leader that I experience sitting in front of me right now.
Thank you for that reflection. Yeah,
Yeah.
It pulls me back to 2021, Animas Valley Institute, Vision
Yeah.
Quest.
Should we go there?
Let's go there.
We were definitely
Yeah,
gonna
let's
go
go.
there.
Yeah.
We're both like, okay, we made it 18 minutes without talking about the Vision Quest. Can we talk about the Vision Quest now? I do want to complete my second appreciation though, which is really
Mm,
related, but it's just to name how much all of that what I named on the first appreciation is what makes you such a great guide for this thing that you're
mm,
leading. The way that you are really practicing what you preach, using Prismara and all that it brings up for you as the container for your own transformation. And yeah, that is over here like a huge piece of what I imagine, what I would credit the results that you shared of like people saying that this speaks to their soul is because you're creating it from your soul. This is an outcome of you walking your soul's path.
mm.
And so you're kind of reaching deep within yourself and pulling out and offering something for others that you couldn't have been able to offer without having walked the journey that you've walked and integrated the wounds that you've integrated. So of course that speaks to their soul. And of course the right people then just click with it because it's so damn authentic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just, reflect one thing on that is, the people in this container and the just the thing that I want for the world is that people create from an authentic, soulful place inside themselves, and when we do, we bump up against our humanity.
Hmm.
So I see that hand gesture, it's like I go in and and the soul wants to come out, and it has to move through, I'm gonna call it like the channels of our humanity.
Yeah.
We also call it your nervous system,
Right.
your belief system, any sort of stored trauma that we
Mm.
have, and so my soul's expression channeled through the humanity of Kelly has its wobble still even within it, and I'm so grateful to have built a container that allows that. I don't have to sit on some throne of completion and, like, full integration of expertise, and it's like I'm walking it in my own way. I've integrated a lot of these lessons, and, there's always more deeper layers to go, and we never stop desiring and wanting the next round of expression,
Yeah.
and so I will keep meeting those more nuanced layers. It almost gets like the wobble when you first met me was
Hmm.
so big and obvious, and the wobbles now feel more nuanced and subtle,
Hmm.
where, like, someone might not actually know I'm wobbling
Hmm. Yeah.
because
I relate to that.
it's not me blowing up my life, and it's not me having a big existential externalized crisis. It
Yeah.
is more just but yeah, just getting, like, there's, like, a refinement.
Yeah. And I imagine that the way you've gotten there is through learning to trust and appreciate the wobble.
Honestly, the wobble is the way.
There you go. There you go. That's why, putting yourself up on this throne would that like when you said that I had the thought, I was like, that would be so much less powerful to me.
Totally.
That'd be so much less trustworthy to because like we just like everybody knows that that's a performance. They may not, some people may not be able to consciously name it, but like they all feel it.
Yeah.
And yeah, here you are not only accepting the wobble, but actually revering it in a sense, like
Mm.
honoring it deeply.
Yeah, other words for wobble is the Mara, the stuff we bump up against. In the other realm of my work, which is around creative dysregulation, which is the name of my book, is our dysregulation around creation, our fear, our avoidance, our patterns, our blocks more or less, like they are part of us.
Mm,
And how quickly we want to run away and say, no, not you. And then we continue to push them deeper into the shadows, we still exile them.
and we make ourselves less whole, or we
Yes.
we we cut ourselves off from our wholeness, more precisely.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
know this so well, is like embracing that darkness
Yeah.
is the path to radiating the light.
Okay, so
All right. Vision quest.
let's talk about the you, yeah, the you of 5 years ago, just about, almost precisely,
20
I think.
2021, so I guess 4 years ago.
Oh, 4 years ago, okay. Well,
Yeah.
close enough. Um, so, yes, set the stage for us. This is where Kelly and I first met down in southwestern Colorado. Tell us about the Kelly of then and what was happening.
The Kelly of then was struggling,
Yeah.
struggling, and actually I was not struggling because of COVID, it wasn't a pandemic struggle.
Mm,
Uh, in fact, I'm very grateful for the space that the pandemic gave me to be with my Wobble.
mm,
Um, yeah, so I was 31 and just in the depths of my dark night. I had about a 5-year, what felt like extended dark night of the soul with like little undulations inside, wasn't perpetually dark,
mm.
but more or less like a chapter of deep lostness
Yeah.
and deep deconstruction of who I thought myself to be. And the catalyst really was work. I did not understand my place in the world from the perspective of work, which is a
Mm,
lot of what we do with our time.
mhm,
And there was this internal tug of war that said, one part said, "You are here to do something so unique and so wonderful, and you have so many gifts to share." And then this other terrified part of like, that really manifested as like just profound confusion. I don't know. I don't really know who I am. Very disorienting. And, so I hodgepodge my way through jobs and I was an exceptional student in college. Just school is an arena that I could thrive in because there were instructions and I could
mhm,
follow them and I could do a really good job at those instructions.
mhm, mhm.
But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to serve in a unique way, and there are no instructions for that. But I kept trying to follow other people's instructions, and that just led to burnout, it led to bankruptcy, it led to all sorts of challenging experiences. And I just had a lot of darkness to go look through, which was some of my own and some of my family and my ancestry, especially around the right to be happy earning money by being yourself. And I know I'm not alone in this, where the examples that we grow up with are people who self-sacrifice their joy and aliveness to make money because survival is the most important, first and foremost.
And this is what our culture has taught us, like,
Yeah.
in so many ways, that this is what has to happen for survival to happen.
Mhm. Yeah. And so by the time you met me, I had already been on the healing path for some time. I had already explored some plant medicine, a little bit of therapy. I'd been on a big physical healing journey of healing like adrenal fatigue and the symptoms of burnout and just learning about mind body connection. And I came into the quest with a prayer to just know why I'm here.
Mhm.
It's like work is the mirror that reflects a deeper, more existential orientation towards like existence.
Yeah.
It can. It can. Who am
Yeah.
I? Where's my place in the world? What am I supposed to be doing?
Mhm.
And my answer to that, I always felt was would needed to come through some form of work. But a corporate job or working for someone else just didn't quite cut it, and neither did any of my early experiments of being a health coach, being a digital marketing consultant, being a freelancer. I knew there was something else. And so I really started embracing my soulfulness and my spirituality. I devoured Plotkin's books but it became this hidden and compartmentalized side of me because it felt so contrary to the way I had grown up.
Hmm.
And I was not lovingly welcomed by my biological family through this time. In fact, I was
Mm.
heavily judged and criticized for spiraling out of control, being,
Mm.
why can't you just get your life together? Why can't you just commit to something? Just get a job. Like, why is this so hard for you?
Be like us. Do what we did. Make the
Yeah.
sacrifices we made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And just
it's tough.
that pull, which I now know is from soul, was so loud of like, no, it was like, keep untangling, keep untangling,
Yes.
and the tangles, it's not just family, it's school, it's culture, and it is multi-generational. I'm reading the book right now, It Didn't Start With You, which talks about epigenetics and inherited trauma and how we inherit patterns from ancestors we may not have even met, great grandparents. And I believe that we now live in a time, our generation has the greatest access to self actualization and authentic expression than any of our, at least like last couple generations of people who came before us. We don't know how to do this. It's not necessarily in our DNA how to be authentically expressed and sharing our gifts in the world. But yet there's a deeper part of us that knows that that's the way.
Yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
beneath the 7 generations of trauma is this, like, is the bone deep human knowing. I'm remembering actually a moment from that first vision quest where you were like bone deep knowing. You're like, I want to know what that feels like.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Ah, thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, like, say these things, right, that triggered, like, yeah, there's bone deep knowing, but then I'd get back into my day-to-day life and just be, like, overwhelmed with fear and panic.
Yeah.
Even when I
Which is all
touch
that
Yeah.
unintegrated at the time trauma generate intergenerational stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
it
relatable.
and not being held in a community that understood these things.
Yes, 100%.
So, yeah, I go on the quest, I have these profound openings and experiences, I feel deeply seen and, a deep kinship with you and
Hmm.
Rebecca Wildbear and all the other participants, and I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, my people,
Yeah.
yes." But then I go back, where it's not the language people are speaking, and so all
Right.
of a sudden I start to, like, look back on my own insights and start judging them
Yeah.
because there's no community of practice to head back into to, really integrate and transform.
I really feel that people like you and me who are called to build these sorts of communities, like what you're building with Prismara, what I'm building with Soulful Impact,
Mm,
it was important for us to go through the pain of not having one.
mhm,
I had my own version of that, as you know.
mhm,
It's a I think, a kind of beautiful to recognize that as in the kind of the greater picture of the tapestry. Uh, there's a word that's escaping me. Oh, a mosaic. Yeah.
mm,
Like a little tile in this grand mosaic. If the grand mosaic is what's possible for us in this time, because like you're saying, we have in many ways unparalleled opportunity to walk this path of self-realization now. And the tide is turning, like the wave is here and it's growing and it's awesome. And at the same time, there's these rising stakes and specters of destruction and who knows, reversion back to medieval times. I don't like, or worse, like apocalypse. Yeah, it's like, whoa, your mind can pretty easily spin
mhm,
out on AI, nuclear warfare, climate change, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
That's no that seems to me no accident that those two things are happening at the same time, because I think it's actually the this beautiful mosaic that wants to emerge of all these individual people, all these individual souls
mm,
finding their way to adding their little tile,
Mm.
to the big thing that opens the door
Yeah.
to where we all know in our hearts we really can be
Yeah.
and want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking with my husband, Johnny, who's I know is a recent guest on your podcast as well.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how the universe is a symphony and that there's harmony. When things are
Mm,
in alignment, there's harmony. And that can be on the most microscopic scale of a group of cells in your body. When they're in harmony, they're healthy.
mhm,
If there's disharmony in your cellular makeup, that is what a cancerous cell is. It is a
mm,
cell that is out of harmony with the rest.
mm.
That's been
Wow.
given a lot of time to out of its harmony,
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
in discord.
Wow.
And when I think about us as individuals, because some people might say like, "Well, what's the point? We are heading into a we are heading in a crazy direction." And you can it's very easy to get into some nihilistic thinking. Like, what is the point of me stepping into my soul's gift? And, if the
Yeah.
apocalypse is 5 years away, kind of thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's the way I view it is the world is trying to come back into harmony. And so our individual role, if we all consider ourselves a player in the grand orchestra of existence, you being in your right harmonics just help support the rest of the universe being in right harmonics. Like it is trying to bring itself back in. And if we work the mirror, like, oh man, the Mara of the collective is coming up to be seen and felt and worked through.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
intense, right? But like it's also being held by 8+ billion people. It's being held by the earth. And so I am hopeful, but it's going to be painful, just like it is on the individual level when you finally turn towards your darkness. But
Right.
it's all in service of being in that harmonic of like I now feel more than I've ever had before. I know there's still room to grow, but I am deeply in my alignment and authenticity, which
Yeah.
means I'm in harmonics with the way I'm meant to be. I've taken
Yep.
if the like mosaic, like I have actually landed in the right shape.
Mhm.
And I'm able
Mhm.
to place down now, and maybe everyone else is, like, still floating around. They gotta take their shape, and
Yes.
then they click
Yes.
into the grand
Yes.
tapestry.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Exactly.
like,
I love it.
be the harmonic cell, not the disharmonic cell that's eventually gonna fester and turn into something else, which is an unhappy person who is depressed, on medication, riddled with anxiety, deeply out of alignment.
Yeah.
The antidote to all of that is to come back home to yourself.
Boom. That is literally the choice. That's literally the choice that's in front of us.
Yeah.
I'm
We can
reminded
only do
of,
our part and hold
yeah,
on to the more beautiful vision for the world too.
exactly. We can only do our part. It is on some level a leap of faith, no doubt.
Mhm.
But it's also a choice between two very distinct existences. Allowing the festering to continue, like allowing the cancer to take over and being being swallowed up in it, becoming it
Mhm.
even. That's choice A. That's the status quo. That's business as usual. Choice B, it does involve there's this kind of bridge between the two that you're speaking to of turning towards that darkness, integrating that Mara, which is so much easier said than done. And there are all kinds of very understandable reasons that people shy away from that and that protector parts get triggered and defend it and push it back all their might, right?
Mhm.
But on the other side of that, and it's not, yeah, it's not to say the journey ends like you, but there's a point where the center of gravity shifts and you're like, oh, I am my place now. It's like, yes, I've found my place and it's me. And it's
Mhm.
actually always been inside of me. I've now found the willingness to occupy it. And it's my default
Yeah.
mode of being. And I've landed my little tile into the mosaic. And now I'm like, holy shit, I'm surrounded with all these others who are doing the same thing. And like those harmonics radiate and vibrate and attract more of the same. And that's when you see like, whoa, this whole thing that can sound really new agey sometimes about how we create our own realities, how the world is a mirror. That kind of experience will really have you nod in your head, be like, oh, I see how this is true. Like the world is a completely different place
Mhm.
from this perspective. And yes, it's still true on the big picture that we're just still one little tile. And we can't necessarily have any clue whether whether our choice will shift the balance of the whole. There's a path unfolding that's greater than all of us. And at the same time, it's to us to choose.
Mhm.
And I'm reminded of Charles Eisenstein. I was reading an essay of his this morning, and um, he spoke to the difference between a prophecy and a prediction.
Hmm.
Where a prediction is when you have no skin in the game and you're just kind of taking a guess. So it's like, I'm going to predict who's going to win that football game. And I know that nothing I could do could influence the outcome.
Hmm.
Whereas a prophecy is something that we actually have to choose to say yes to.
Hmm.
And it's a truth that's already real, it's already available, but it's not necessarily landed in linear time yet. That's where our agency comes in. I firmly believe at some point in the grand scheme of the universe, like the universe is going to work itself into greater harmony. That it doesn't need us to do that.
I would say it's doing it through us.
Well, yes, I would agree. And maybe that's where our individual choices can make a difference.
100%. I mean, to me, through me, consciousness
Mm,
is like
mm,
the universe is moving through us. It animates us. The life force energy animates all of us. There's a
mm,
moment where that will stop and we'll die,
mhm,
right? And
mhm,
so as we are alive and have that life force energy moving through us, I believe that energy is pure, always pure, and is
mm.
trying to always bring us into harmonics. And so, or into our right little tile shape. And the other analogy I used to use is, as little kids, you have like a little table thing, and there's different holes with different shapes. There's like the star, the
Yeah,
circle, the square, and they
yeah.
have to
My
like
2-year-old has one of those.
yeah, so you like line up the
Yeah,
square and put it through the square hole. But if you're like
yeah.
taking the square and you're trying to shove it down the triangle hole, like it's not going to work.
Right.
And for years, I'm like, I'm trying to find the Kelly shaped hole. Like,
Mm,
how do I line up? I'm trying to put myself in other shapes. And
mhm.
like this landing of the tile to me feels like I found my Kelly shaped hole in the universe, and I've taken its rightful place, and I am the only one who can fill that.
And now you're allowing the harmony of the universe to move through you.
Yeah, or it is what brought me into this place.
Mm,
You know, I'm a I'm a big lover of dark nights of the soul and rock bottoms. I think
mm,
they are our greatest teachers that show us you're not in alignment.
mhm,
Something needs to be looked at. Your way of operating is outdated. It's time to change.
mhm,
And we hit these bottoms. They are really, I think, just massive wake up calls,
mhm,
and
mhm.
if we choose to listen and start course correcting and do something different, maybe we never have another one again, or it's different or it's less intense,
Yeah,
but if we keep ignoring that call, then it's the person who's just perpetually in burnout, the
yeah,
person whose patterns keep returning.
yeah,
And so even though the process of coming into alignment and harmony can be painful at first, it's really just a big old wake up call. You
yeah,
listen, you go on a vision quest, or you
yeah.
step into the containers that are designed for these to hold people in these moments, which,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, we could talk more about the vision quest. Like those truly are designed to hold people in those moments. And the world needs even more of them, right? But they also need
Mhm,
to be held by very skilled, wise humans, of which
mhm,
we hopefully will have more and more as the generations go on.
mhm,
Um, But then, at least in my life experience, if you truly let that change you, you truly let that work on you, you do get to this tipping point where it's no longer nearly as painful and hard, but actually the momentum is generated to where, ooh, now it's exciting. Now I've clicked in and now I'm, ooh, like what's possible from this place? I found
Yes, full
myself.
aliveness.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and I want to say something edgy right now. Because I was about to say, like, I finally found myself.
Mm.
Like, how many people are like, I want to find myself. Where am I?
Mhm.
And it's what a weird sentence. I said it forever. And
Mhm.
everyone's like, you're right there. Like you're you're right there. What do you mean where how do I find myself?
Yeah, well,
And
you
it's
weren't
like
though. You weren't fully embodied yet.
I wasn't fully embodied. I wasn't fully clicked into myself. There was a lot of
Yeah.
layers of conditioning and whatnot. And this is a spicy take, but the next chapter that's alive for me is stepping into motherhood.
Mhm.
And there is such a common phrase of amongst mothers of once you have kids, you lose yourself.
Mm.
And the thing I'm sitting with is I don't think I could lose myself again because I
Mhm.
found myself.
Yeah.
And so my question is, did those mothers find themselves before they had kids? Or are
Whoa.
they projecting the
Yeah.
grief of not having found themselves onto this very life-changing new thing, you know, which really is just an acknowledgement of like, you didn't find yourself before, and so you're actually now there's grief because
Right.
there's less time to even go do that because you have to tend to another being and help them find themselves.
Right.
And parents
Yes.
who didn't find themselves before, I think this is what happened with me. My parents
Mm.
didn't fully know themselves before. So
Mm.
then they tried to mold me into something that I wasn't as a way of coping with them, and just it just perpetuates. I don't blame them anymore. It just is perpetuated. And so young people, I think, find yourself at any age, but young people, pre-children as much as possible, do this work, find yourself, because that is what's going to start tipping the scales in the more beautiful direction,
Yes. It
is
doesn't get
raising
easier.
children to be themselves, and then they don't actually have to grow up to be in their mid-20s and have some existential crisis of who they are, because 'cause they're in alignment more or less from the get-go.
Yeah, I think what you're speaking to also here is a version of quote unquote finding yourself that's really it's finding the part of you that is so ultimately stable.
Mm,
Like almost actually it's the part of you that never changes, never dies,
mm,
never was born, like appeared here on this plane with you, but it's this and this is what you and I like to call soul, but it's yeah, it's that place inside that goes so much deeper than any of the more surface level qualities, characteristics, roles, definitions, etc., that we in this culture often like to grasp at as our identity. And we think that's us. Oh, I'm, the person who lives this lifestyle and does this job in this place and has this time on the weekends and this kind of sleep at night and these hobbies. And yeah, the parenthood and motherhood in particular will shatter that. So if that's who you think you are,
mm,
yeah, you will lose yourself. And uh, that can also be a gift if you turn towards it in
yes.
in the courageous and loving way to say, like, okay, maybe I'm losing this version of myself because this isn't actually really who I am on a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll add some nuances, like, we all have, and even on the soul path, maybe especially on the soul path, these death and rebirth cycles, you know? So for me to say yes to motherhood, I've been letting my maidenhood die, that
Right.
identity structure die.
Yeah. Right.
Happened around marriage too. The single woman needed
Yeah.
to die in order to be reborn into a married woman, and that is why ceremonies, I think, in their purest form are so important at these threshold crossings
Hmm.
so that we really
Hmm.
can transform. And it's just another thing our society really needs is for these transitionary moments to be held in such a sacred way,
Hmm.
because the old identity, if it's the one trying to be in this new chapter, like it's too fragile. It can't do it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
someone who's really touched soul, really, um, just, yeah, done the work to integrate the Mara. There's probably a lot of parents listening who are like, "Yeah, just wait until you are actually are a mom." And so maybe we'll do a follow-up in, like, a couple years. But I just have, like, yes, I'm gonna be exhausted, I'm gonna be tired, I'm gonna get frustrated, I'm gonna maybe at times, like, be a little dissociated from
Mhm.
myself, be disembodied. That's okay. But the deeper essence of me, she will remain. She'll still be there.
Yeah.
I'll still
Yeah.
know what I value and love and stand for in the world.
Exactly. You'll still know your place on the
Mhm.
level of soul. And
Yeah.
that is going to support you, in my opinion, more than anything else possibly could in being an amazing mother.
Thank you. And I think about this a lot, especially when it comes to, yeah, intergenerational trauma. Is this comes back to Dr. Gabor Mate's work, who's one of my favorite teachers, and he
Yeah.
talks about how all humans need two things. We need secure attachment, so safety with our caregivers, and we need authentic self-expression.
Mm.
But when our secure attachment is at risk, we will distort our authentic self-expression in order to try and get that secure attachment back. So
Yeah.
what that means in practice is little kids, babies who start to mask themselves and change their behavior to in a strategic way to get the love from their parents that is essential for their survival.
Mhm.
That compounded by years and decades becomes adults, I would say biologically aged adults, not necessarily psychospiritual adults, who don't know who they are
Mhm.
because of decades of maybe even just small little shifts away from themselves, but it's been compounded over time.
Mhm.
And so the thing I am most excited about to be a mom is to really learn how to allow my children to be authentically themselves, and I provide them unconditional love of that.
Mhm.
That's because I really wanna see who those people become.
Yeah.
My theory, and it's Dr. Gabor Mate's theories, is like those are the humans who grow up and actually mature in an integrated way and know their place
Right.
right out the gate. They don't have to go to therapy for a decade in their late 20s or
Yeah.
30s or 40s
They'll
to
still
find
have their
themselves.
journey of discovery of it, I
Sure.
think.
Sure.
They'll still have their descent to soul, hopefully,
I get curious
eventually.
about that. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Well, we could go maybe going in more of a philosophical direction here, but you know, I would say when we look at, like, if you reference Bill Plotkin's book, Nature and the Human Soul, for example,
Mhm.
that model, that 8-stage model of soul-centric human development, which I think is one of his most profoundly um, life-altering creations, is grounded in a lot of research of surviving soul-centric cultures. So healthy soul-centric cultures don't, like, they don't skip over the darkness.
Mm.
The darkness is still there, and the journey into the dark is in some cases even more harrowing. Like, I think of certain peoples and tribes whose initiation rituals, it's like an understood fact that some of these often young men who are going to get initiated might die, like literally
Mm.
not make it through.
Mhm.
And they still do it because on a cultural level, they understand
Mhm.
the power and the importance of this choice to
Hmm.
lean in and turn towards and embrace that. I wouldn't necessarily want it any other way. Like, I wouldn't want to wish my kids to not have the opportunity to
Hmm.
go on a deep and dark and dangerous descent to soul, because I think that's really important aspect of what makes for a full human life. And, like,
Hmm.
it's part of the full spectrum of human existence that I don't want to discount, and that I think aliveness is less rich without it, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a beautiful reframe.
And I think there's also truth to what you're saying, which is the experience of going on that kind of journey is entirely different when you're held.
I think it's different when you're held, yes, and I think what I would love to eliminate to the best of my abilities is the trauma that comes from a parent being unintegrated in themselves and how that passes on to a child.
Yeah.
This
Right.
idea of the unlived life, like the greatest pain of a child is the unlived life of their parents or something like that, which is
Yeah.
Carl Jung's quote.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when healthy, integrated, psycho-spiritually mature adults are raising children, like I actually don't even have a frame of reference of like what is the darkness that those children get to go through.
Yeah. It's and I'll join you in the intention and the journey of offering that to my kids to the best of my ability,
Mhm.
while also honoring, and I say this in part for me and any other parents listening, and also for you, my friend, your future self, honoring that you will be imperfect and there will be unintegrated maras and darkness and scars and pain that come out and that impact your kids.
Mhm.
And it'll fucking break your heart.
Mhm.
And if you let it break your heart, then that's a huge part of how you will become through the journey of parenting closer and closer to that ideal, while also really giving yourself grace for your own sake, but also trusting God, mystery, spirit, earth, the greater intelligence that's at play here, trusting your child, trusting their soul, that they know that on some level they chose to come here because they know that
Yeah.
mosaic tile that they're destined to occupy at some point, and they know that actually getting there travels through a place called the sacred wound,
Mhm.
and the cycle goes on. So we
And
get to we get to play our part, and we get to play it all out. And thank God that we get to be alive at this kind of time where there's this much at stake, where we can really feel like, wow, me making this choice actually might be me choosing to be part of the momentum that creates the kind of transformation and shift and awakening in human society, like a quantum leap level of human evolution that hasn't been seen for I have no idea how long.
yeah, hopefully.
That's the game that we're playing, folks.
Yeah, hopefully. I think we are living in just the most astounding times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a wild journey to behold, and, um, there's never been a better time to heal, to do this transformational work, and like you said, there's such a momentum happening right now
Mhm.
with it,
Yeah.
and I come back to integrity, even if the world does who knows? If we if it all ends, if the environment collapses and we actually the game is up, the game is done,
Mhm.
I wanna know that I've lived my life in as much integrity as possible.
Mhm.
And so that means to me, like, I'm gonna still have kids. I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
still do the work. I'm still gonna write the books even though
Yeah.
in 10 years' time, that may not matter at all.
Mhm.
But that's what my soul is asking to experience and do.
Yeah. Yeah. And their souls are saying yes.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny and I have talked about it a lot. There's a it's a common argument to not have kids based on what's happening in the world, and I get that, and it's scary, and, you know, if we work the mirror, like,
Mhm.
I know that souls wanna keep coming in and keep learning and growing through this time too,
Yeah.
as do I.
Yeah, and being a part of this moment, being a part of that mosaic.
Mm.
Like, could you possibly imagine a more exciting life path?
Exciting is a good word. I yeah. You know, it's not like
Right?
it's not necessarily a stable life. It's not necessarily you
Yeah. Oh
can't you
God.
can't plan and map out too far in the future.
Yeah. It gets to be stable when we root ourselves in that deeper place,
Yeah,
like you were speaking to. So on a not at all stable on the level of, again, like circumstances.
sure.
And sort of that more surface level version of reality, like definitely unstable. But
Mhm.
when we can root ourselves in that deeper place of perspective and knowing of who we are actually even beyond these bodies and these psyches and even beyond this lifetime, I think the energy really shifts around it. And even to even just say it also in like a um maybe less grandiose way. I think of yeah, my amazing wife, Ashley. She and I, we had this some level of this conversation also before choosing to bring our first daughter into the world. And she's like, there's and the simplest level, there's just so much beauty to this existence.
Mhm.
There's so much beauty to be experienced here, even with all of the shit. And I want to share that.
Mhm.
We want to share that
Yeah.
with another generation.
Yeah. Ram Dass is one of my go-to teachers, and one of the things he teaches though too is that the things that we might call ugly or
Mm,
not good, like, how do we love all of that too? How do we actually
hmm.
see the beauty
Hmm.
in all of the madness that is happening now?
Yeah, exactly.
Phew, and it
Exactly.
takes a real open mind and heart to be able to do that.
Well, I think that's really where Prismara comes in. Like that's at the essence of what you're doing, kind of bringing us full circle. That awesome observation from Ram Dass. It's true on the collective level and it's true on the individual level.
Mhm.
So maybe this is the opportunity that I want to say yes to actually come back again to the Vision Quest and go a little bit deeper, if you will, into that experience. You've kind of referenced a few times different aspects of it that felt important for you to in yourself be able to say yes to the threshold crossing that was beckoning
Mm.
to you. The ceremony, being with your people. But would you tell us a little bit more about the experience that you had on that quest, and specifically what about it allowed you to embrace the Mara that you needed to embrace to
Mm.
now 4 years later be bringing what you're bringing into the world?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first I'll share that although the quest was 11 days, the process of the quest is years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the quest itself was a time for me to deeply long for something else, to be in a container where my confusion around life is fully welcomed and my longing for clarity and purpose and alignment is also so held and welcomed. And really, I just think being in containers where you're held in that kind of atmosphere of love and full acceptance create space for the rocks to start shifting, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And the real big breakthrough for me um, on the quest was coming up on a Native American ruin. I believe the Anasazi tribe, but I don't know for sure. You might be able to speak more to the tribes that inhabited that area. It was the day that we were all supposed to go look for our solo site, right? So we're just kind of wandering and looking for our camp spot that we're going to spend the 3 days doing our fasting. And I'm wandering around. I walk up this sort of like rock bluff and I come over the edge and I see this perfect uh, rock wall that is perfectly preserved from wind, sun, and rain. And there's probably 100 or so red handprints, red painted
Hmm.
handprints all over the wall, ranging
Hmm.
from little kid size all the way up to adult size. And
Wow.
there are like a little couple structures, but I just see this wall of hands, who knows how old. And I felt like I got punched in the gut. I instantly started weeping.
Hmm.
Again, trust the tears when they come.
Yeah.
And I had a rattle in my hand, and I just
Mm.
started singing
Ugh.
about, um, I apologize if this triggers anyone, but I started singing about the lost white people,
Hmm.
which is myself,
Hmm.
of I do not know my place.
Hmm.
I don't know where I belong
Hmm.
geographically, communally, societally,
Yeah.
and what all those handprints, the story they told me, this is just my assumption, but this is the story they told me, is that everyone there belonged.
Hmm.
Everyone there was part of a tribe, a family, a community. They belonged in that canyon.
They were rooted in that place
They were
in a deep,
rooted.
deep way. Yeah.
They're rooted and intertwined with each other, with nature, with the animals, with the elements, with the seasons. And I'm sure they all knew their role.
Hmm. Hmm.
And at that time in my life, I was living nomadically. I moved to Bali like 5 days after the quest, which was not a good idea.
I remember
Um,
that.
yeah.
Like, whoa. Okay.
Well, it was already planned, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here I am wandering the world, looking for a sense of place, looking for a sense of purpose, and singing that song and feeling my grief and acknowledging the longing was I deeply long to know where I belong, to
Hmm.
whom I belong to where I belong to, and to what I belong to.
Yeah.
And those questions are not so easy to answer these days for really a lot of people,
Yeah.
skin color aside.
Yeah.
And just a lot of grief of I feel like a lot of us are just needing to figure that out for ourselves,
Hmm.
and it's soul work that helps us do that.
Hmm. Yeah. That's right. Coming back home to our own deeper truth inside, come back home to the earth, finding our place in the family of things,
Mhm,
like Mary Oliver says. Um, yeah, and it's complex, it's messy, it's imperfect, and it's ongoing. And thank you so much for sharing that story. I love that you went and shared like the specifics of that imagery. Oh my gosh, so impactful. And yeah, whatever the actual lived experiences of those people, of those handprints was, it evoked something really important in you
mhm,
to recognize life as a mirror, right? To recognize in this mirroring back this truth inside yourself that you were in this place of like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I belong. I don't know who my people are. And that is woefully relatable in in modernity.
mhm,
And and yes, white people have our particular flavor of that. Um, and white people in America have our particular flavor of that. Came to this, our ancestors came to this country running from something, or maybe seeking something, or some combination of the both. But so there's a sort of a deliberate separation from roots, and for very understandable reasons. A lot of the war and oppression and trauma that people ran from, and then of course there's the ways that white people kind of brought people of color into the same stream of disconnection and disbelonging through, like, the perpetuation of systems like slavery, for example. So it's like, it just goes on and on. It's like, yeah, modernity at this point affects us all.
Hmm.
It's a part of us all in different ways and different flavors. And it's such an important and beautiful journey to walk our own particular path of integrating the ways that that is manifesting in us. And, you know, whether that means, I think it has to mean on some level, some version of reclaiming our ancestry, understanding the truth of our ancestry, like letting go of the sort of happy stories or oversimplistic stories that serve a specific narrative. I recently had Jerry Colonna on the podcast, and his book Reunion talks about this in a really powerful way. How we part of the way we create this lack of belonging is by kind of um, disconnecting ourselves from the truth of our ancestry,
Mm.
often because it's painful and uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, the earth and place and the way that modernity is like moves us so fast and kind of puts us in these boxes and behind these screens. And it's like it's really unnatural in many ways compared to what humans have done for the vast majority of human history, and in really like being grounded in a specific bioregion and watershed. It's one of the biggest gifts I've received from being able to move back to the Roaring Fork Valley in Colorado, is that like this watershed, this place is somewhere I've been in deep and soulful relationship with my whole life. I was very, very lucky in that way.
Hmm.
And being in active relationship with it now is a crucial element of what enables me to bring my soul's gifts into the world.
Hmm.
But just honoring the longing, honoring the questions, honoring the song, the full-throated, shaker infused song, and yeah, and honoring where it's taken you now,
Yeah.
a continuing unfolding journey.
Yeah. Your original question was like, how did my quest inform what I do now? And it's,
Yeah.
if I think about, there's more things that happened on the quest too, but that was the real, just the impact of it in my body was so pronounced.
Yeah.
And so it was really one of the biggest ones around the sense of belonging and
Mm,
my integration of that, my continued apprenticing of that over the last 4 years. The word that keeps coming up is commitment. Is I've become so deeply committed to my marriage. I'm so deeply committed to my work. I'm so deeply committed to my soul family,
mm,
chosen family.
mhm,
I am so deeply committed, not necessarily to place. That is still one thing that evolves every couple of years, and that's okay. I think that is a symptom of modernity as well. And
mhm,
there's a lot outside of our control in terms of it's not so easy to just pick a place and stay there forever anymore.
mm,
And with that commitment comes a deep sense of belonging. Like, okay, I belong with this family. I belong to
mm,
this arena of work. I belong to this soul path. And
hmm,
it's brought me to different communities that I love and I show up for. And a lot of them are digital communities, so I've had to adapt it, right, to meet the times. Like I'm part of you and I are both part of a really beautiful online community that has a couple hundred people. And sometimes I literally imagine, what if we all put our handprints up somewhere?
Aw.
But like we are a globally distributed community.
Yeah.
And so I have to think about that in my mind's eye. And I'm like, that would be so sweet.
Hmm.
and I'm coordinating the retreat for about 50 of us to get together next month. And
Mm.
so it's creating these opportunities for gathering, for deep belonging. And
Yeah.
the one piece that I try to embody is unconditional acceptance of everybody else.
Hmm.
Like we all belong, even in our
Hmm.
differences. And I work that mirror of whether it's judgment or criticism or feeling like I'm something other than another being. And it's like keep coming back to that interconnectedness of like I belong to it all.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
more and more, it's like I belong to existence. I belong here. I belong on earth.
Yes.
And that makes me
Yeah.
want to step up and protect and advocate and share and heal even more.
100%. Yes, it's finding our place. Is what I'm part of what I'm hearing you say is finding our place on that psycho spiritual metaphysical plane, which also may translate into the physical. And I think that's a journey that is definitely challenging in our modern context. And I love the ways you're sharing about, you know, embracing what we have as a digitally like spread out world and community. I'm definitely also an advocate for deep connection to land and specific land. And I think, so I always like to add that in to the conversation and in these times is like, you know, yeah, don't forget that piece. And I know you're working on it. But whether it's however it specifically manifests, like knowing your place on that deep soul level allows for enough belonging to be so that we can really play our part in the symphony.
Yeah, it's one of the threads of my healing path has been uh, two things. One, the right to exist as I am,
Mm,
and consenting to life.
mm, mm,
I was in a breathwork journey when I went to Bali, so after the quest, but probably not too long after the quest. I did a breathwork journey, and the place I went to was the moment my soul came into the fetus, the
mm.
fetus of me. And the thought form it had, I had, was not this again.
Wow.
And so that showed me that there was a lot of fear
Mm,
and resistance to incarnating again and to being in this material world of challenge and pain and hardship and growth. And that on some level, I was able to identify after that journey, like, yeah, I don't fully consent to being here. I don't fully consent to being Kelly. I don't fully consent to being alive.
mm,
And because of that lack of consent, I also wasn't taking full responsibility for myself in my life. I was still a little bit in victim. I was still pointing at other people for causing me harm or systems. And so, yeah, through some deeper work, just like, okay, yes, it's just,
yeah.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
I'm a
Yes. Oh, I
yes.
love it.
I'm yes to me. I'm yes to this. I'm yes to this place. And okay, let's go.
Mhm.
And that has been, I don't, it's a very vulnerable story. And I don't know a lot of people if they consciously can relate to it. But on some level, I get curious how many people just really need to say yes. Yes. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. I'll do this.
Mm. Love that question. Well, perhaps to close us out, I'd love to end on the topic of creativity
Yay.
because I know it's such a topic that's so close to your heart, and I'd love to ask you, what does creativity mean to you, and how does all that we've talked about in this conversation today enable creativity?
My definition of creativity is a little bit more broad than most. To me, creativity is the expression of life force energy that moves through us. It is creation, is the process of bringing something forth that stems from within. And so that can be just an infinite number of things. It could be a book, it could be a song, it could be a poem, it could be a business, it could be a baby. In the greatest sense of it, it's our lives. We do create our lives. We create it as a direct expression of who we truly are, who we know ourselves to be in that moment. And so actually, I think we're creating on every, like, we're all just always creating. I do believe every single human being is creative and that they're already creating every single day. We get up, we navigate our days. On some level, we're creating a new day. We might be on autopilot, so we might not be consciously creating. And it's when we step into the role of conscious creator, which to me is you take the wheel and you
Hmm.
start to play. You say yes, and you start to be more of a co-creative force with that life force
Hmm.
energy. And the way it relates to our conversation is really, I believe, the soul has come here to experience itself, and it does that through creating. And that could be creating a family, could be creating a community, creating a home. It all becomes direct expressions of who we are. So as we navigate the soul path, as we learn who we are, as we integrate the Mara, and we really like click into our little the mosaic tile.
Tile, yeah.
Yeah, to me, there's this profound unlock of creative life force energy that becomes available.
Yes.
That is always there, but it's almost like the channels are cleared out. It gets to move through us with
Yeah.
greater ease.
Yeah.
So a big part of my work is in creative regulation, which is actually learning how to cultivate nervous system safety and nervous system regulation in the pursuit of our creative dreams, because our nervous system holds a lot of the Mara. And
Mm.
so the nervous system, when we start to bump up against the things that are uncomfortable, our fears, our traumas, it can be hard to express our creativity. And that is what most people call creative blocks, is that
Mm.
we've just bumped into something
Hmm.
in our creative channels. So the more we clear out the Mara, the more we lean towards the darkness and we integrate and we do parts work and shadow work and we have nervous system regulating practices, the more that creativity actually it just is. It just flows. We don't actually have to work as hard for it anymore. I believe that our creative dreams, inspirations, ideas oftentimes come from soul, who is
Mhm.
who is giving us a pathway to keep healing through the pursuit of the idea. And so that is where uh, the unseen realm and the material realm start to be more of an interplay between each other, and that's the mirror. So I say your creative project is the mirror. Work it as you're pursuing it. If it so I'll use myself as an example. I'm birthing Prismara. I have another example that I didn't share yet, which was yeah, I two people told me that they wanted to join and they wanted to pay full price. I should have been dancing and celebrating and been lit up, but my body's response was sadness. And it was such a contrast to what I thought I should be doing that I was like, "What is this? Why am I sad? It's working. My business is working. Why am I sad?" So I worked the mirror and I went into the sadness. And next thing I know, I'm reliving a memory from sixth grade when I was bullied for being a really good student. And I learned through that experience that it's not safe to shine and it's not safe to be good at things. It's not safe to be great at something. Or people won't like me if my things if I'm good and things work. So there was a part of me who was literally afraid and sad and like, "Oh, your business is working? Uh-oh.
Wow.
No, no, no. That's not safe." So then I get to integrate that part, get to bring in that new part of the prism back into form.
And through that, you clear the channel for
Yeah.
more of your
Yeah,
genuine divine creativity to come through.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why when I empower people to create, it is uh, oftentimes we can live in a paradigm of either or. I'll say yes to my creativity when I'm healed,
Mm,
or like either I can go on the healing path or I can go be expressed and go build the things I want to build. I do think there's a time and place for like going all in on healing if you have the luxury to be able to do so, to
hmm.
really focus on the inner side of things. But then there does become a point where you can do both.
Yeah.
Yes to your creative projects and to your healing. So you build the
And
business
eventually
and
you
you
need
heal.
to.
Yeah. Eventually you
Yeah.
need to. And I learned in my own experience that whenever I would hit that new level or threshold, I would bump up against all the fear and protection mechanisms. And then I would abandon the project entirely because I'd say,
Mm,
oh, well, clearly it's wrong or I'm wrong or I'm not meant to do it. And the story I would tell myself is it's actually not aligned. And that was
mm.
my way of almost spiritually bypassing my own
Yeah.
creative
Yeah.
desires.
Yeah. I've seen a few cycles of that.
Yeah, like, clearly
Yeah.
it's not
From you.
aligned,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, no, actually, I'm terrified."
Mm, yeah.
And so now I have some frameworks. I call it, the creative window of tolerance. How do you create while staying in a relative state of embodied safety while gradually expanding your comfort zone or your window of tolerance? You do that through creative titration, which is taking small steps, not big quantum leaps, at least not in the beginning.
Hmm.
So that
Hmm.
your nervous system, your body, learn to trust the creative path.
So good.
Yeah, and I
Ah,
believe that people can literally create anything. So when soul sends you an idea and it's big or crazy, like, I actually think that means your soul is asking for a really adventurous path ahead.
I like that.
Yeah, like, who am I to go build that business? Ooh, well, you're gonna become the person who can build that business if you say yes. If it's consent, like, yes, say yes.
Yeah. If you're the one who's receiving that calling, then somebody wise somewhere thinks you're exactly the one to build it.
Yeah, it's that tuning fork, you know? We get to
Yeah.
receive it because 'cause
Yeah.
we're in a certain degree of harmony with who we truly are, and so we get ideas anyway, even if we're not fully anchored in soul. People are constantly getting inspired, I
Yeah,
think.
and there's a whole element of discernment there, learning to understand where the idea is actually coming from. Is it a
Mhm.
genuine emergence from the depths of soul and your deeper creativity, or is it more some actually ego mind pattern
Yeah.
that's running that might be trying to, yeah, bypass or distract or so. But um the essence of welcoming when you do get that hit that feels true, that like when you really get still and quiet with yourself and you drop into your inner knowing and you're like, yeah, I'm called to that.
Mm.
Welcoming that as, yes, an invitation from soul, and also an invitation more to, like you said, the adventure of walking that path, actually maybe more so than the actual end result, or the end
Mm.
result that as it is presenting in your consciousness now, which, may be clouded by some mental filters that you have on, and also you know, it's not soul's job. The soul won't give you the it's not soul's role to give you, like, the specific logistical, practical details of, like, here's how it all comes together. Maybe that might happen, but usually not. Usually it's soul speaks more in metaphor and imagery, and it's kind of our role to bring it into literal truth and reality, but we
Mhm.
we do that through not grasping to or getting attached to the idea, but allowing that calling or that idea to shapeshift us
Yeah.
and work us and bring us into those maras and get us, and then help enable us to become the being who can then channel it. We become that tile we lock into place, and poof, There you
Yeah.
go. Something like Prismara emerges.
Yeah. Yeah, or soulful impact.
Right? Yeah.
I'll just follow up with one nuance here is, and I do think that although soul doesn't lay out, here's the 10-step plan to birth the
Hmm.
thing, is it does help us feel when we
Yeah.
are in congruence and resonance with the right path.
That's right.
And so, like, as you go to create the thing, you could go create it inauthentically and go follow someone else's model for birthing the project, and it won't feel
Mm.
good,
Mm.
and you're like, "Actually,
Yes.
God, this actually kinda sucks." And like, "Oh, 'cause I stopped listening to the path." You took soul's inspiration, but then it got hijacked by, like,
Right.
something else
Yeah.
outside of you. So I'm always feeling it's a daily recalibration of, like, am I in alignment with, like, the how as well? Am I in integrity with myself and my soul with how I'm executing this?
Hmm.
And that's where things get really exciting in modern times is how do I utilize the internet
Mm.
while staying in integrity? These are big
Mm.
questions because that's where a lot of
Yeah.
people start to play another game. That's not really their game.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
glad you added that piece.
Yeah. Yeah. It's feeling. There's so much feeling to soul,
Yeah. That's
uh,
right.
through our
Yeah.
emotions, through our sense of whether we're on track or not.
Hmm. Yeah. These bodies really are our tuning forks,
They are.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, the nervous system, all of it, and it's the as you're so beautifully speaking to the it's the path we walk to fully awakening the tuning fork, or like being able to use it well, leads us through those quote unquote blocks, which are really just, yeah, karma of some kind that's ours to integrate along the way. Um and then the door opens even more, even more, even more.
Yeah. And the cool thing is we can't really walk back through the door.
Right.
So, like, the more authentically expressed we become, we actually, like, really can't go back into inauthenticity. It feels awful.
Yes.
You
Oh
might
my
touch
God.
into it for, like, a minute because there's, like, a habitual pattern of practicing that, maybe amongst certain people in your life, but it
Yeah.
feels awful. And
Right.
so we more and more our whole life starts to reorient towards us feeling in integrity, which is why, like, this path results in changed relationships, changed places, changed, areas of work,
Hmm.
and that's
Hmm.
all for the better. It's all to bring your whole life into that harmonic.
Yeah, because it only changes really the ways that it changes is going from out of alignment into alignment.
Mhm. Which can look a
And
little
so
messy at first,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of
and
people get scared about like, "Oh, no, I won't don't want what if, I don't wanna lose my life." It's like, well, yeah, important to listen to that um, and get really also ruthless with yourself of, what's really most important?
mm,
How are you here to live? And what short-term shakeup, well, maybe a better way to phrase it is, um, what's the end state of being that you're called to that would make a short-term shakeup worth it?
mm, yeah. For me, my guiding light and word this whole time has been authenticity.
Yeah.
That word is in the beginning of my healing journey, it haunted me. I'm like, "Oh, I want to be this, but I don't know what it is," and I feel like it's just calling me forward, and now I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Like, yeah, authenticity is like it's like drinking fresh spring water and inhaling the
Yes.
oxygen that is meant for you, and
It's home.
it's home. It's
Yeah.
home, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, if there's words that I feel like the soul can grab onto certain words and they become paths in themselves.
Nice.
Let them work on you.
So good, my friend. So much
Mm,
fun. Thank
yes.
you for this time. Thank you for sharing yourself so fully
Mhm.
and yeah, encouraging everyone listening to check out Prismara, maybe We'll see you in a future cohort.
Yeah.
Check out Kelly's book on creative dysregulation. You can
Yeah.
find it on Amazon.
There's also a new course coming up that I would love to share.
And a new course. Yeah, please.
Yeah, the course is going to be a self-paced course. It's called Safe to Create,
Nice.
and it's about establishing deep embodied nervous system safety to let creativity move through us.
Cool.
Yeah, and so for those who hit those bumps of fear, overwhelm, doubt, imposter syndrome, it's really the body saying it's not safe to create.
Yeah.
And so working with those reflexes to smooth it out so that in the future you can actually just create with ease. So
Love
that'll
it.
be coming out summer 2025 for those who are interested.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Look forward to seeing it. And a little teaser to be announced at a later date is actually a another collaboration that Kelly and I are working on that I'm just gonna tease right now and not name it, but keep your ears open.
September 2026.
That's right. That's right. Some soulful humans be gathering.
Yeah, yeah, our people. Thank you, Brooks. I'll just share, it's been just an absolute gift to watch your journey over the last 4 years as well, transforming how you've stayed attuned to the unfoldment of your inspiration and authenticity as those new and deeper layers reveal themselves. It's a
Mhm.
reason why you're a Prismara mentor, is 'cause you are so willing to say, "Okay, this is no longer it. I'm gonna go to the deeper layer now," and
Mhm.
to radiate that on the world, 'cause it takes a lot of courage to do that.
Mhm.
And, yeah, it's been so beautiful to watch you bring this podcast to life. Love your interview
Mhm.
style, and feels just like talking to a great friend.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Mhm.
Warmly receiving all that.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you to everyone listening. I wish you the best on your authenticity, soulful, creative unfolding paths.
Indeed. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Kelly.
Mhm.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. If you, like me, feel passionate about this idea of redefining the way we think about impact to a bit more of a soulful orientation and what that could do for our planet, for our species, for all beings, then please, 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 I'd love to ask for your help. If you could just take a moment to subscribe on whatever platform you receive this podcast and leave, if it feels right to you, a glowing 5-star review. That will do wonders in supporting me in growing this show, attracting more amazing guests, and really bringing this movement, this exploration out into the world. Thank you so much for your time and attention. So glad you joined us here for this conversation today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.